everyone. Welcome to Speak Now Pro Wrestling. I'm Denise Salcedo, and today we are going to be chatting all about the October 19th edition of WWE NXT 2.0. We got plenty to get into here tonight, everyone. It was an interesting show. We are leading into Halloween Havoc next week, which is going to be a lot of fun for the most part. I'm pretty excited about Halloween Havoc. I think it's going to be an interesting show, and it's going to sort of cement all of the changes that we are currently seeing on NXT. But before we get to the show, before we get to all of that, I do want to make a couple of announcements because this week is kind of chaotic, kind of crazy. There's so much wrestling going on. It's going to be very, very busy, a very, very busy week to say the least. So I do want to make a couple of announcements. So as you guys know, this Wednesday, AEW Dynamite will not be airing on Wednesday. It will be airing on Saturday, excuse me. So AEW Dynamite will not be airing on Wednesday. It will be airing on Saturday. So because of that, and due to a couple of bookings, because I'm going to be working the GCW show and the PCW Ultra show, I've decided to do both of my my AEW Dynamite post shows and my AEW Rampage and Smackdown post shows the following day this week. So for those of you who are confused by that, on Saturday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I will be reviewing SmackDown and Rampage. And because I am doing this a day late, I decided to bring on some special guests. So on Saturday, my very special guest is going to be John Pollock of Post Wrestling, and he's going to be coming in on Saturday to review that show with me. So I'm very excited. It's going to be the first show that we do together. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then also on so that's Saturday. And then Sunday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to be doing the AEW Dynamite post-show review with none other than Robbie Fox. Robbie Fox has been absolutely killing it. Just wrapped up some interviews with Tony Khan and with CM Punk. So he's going to be joining us on that show on Sunday. So I am going to be having special guests for those two shows since I am going to be a little later than I normally am. And then afterwards, I will be back to my normal schedule. All right, so with all of that being said, let's get into this NXT post show. We're going to kick things off with our first super chat of the day. This is from Christopher Marino, who says, can you coexist with the chat? I hope that I can coexist with the chat. Guys, oh my God. I feel so like it's comedy to me. Honestly, the coexisting thing, it's comedy to me. I'm having fun with it. I just posted a tongue twister right now on Twitter. If you guys want to take a look at that, the coexisting thing, it's burning me out, but I'm just trying to laugh about it because at this point, all you can do is laugh about the fact that we're getting the exact same storyline. And we all knew that this was going to happen with Tommaso Ciampa and Bron Breakker, even though you don't even need this. You do not need to see if these guys can coexist. I was just talking about this on Monday with Drew McIntyre and Big E. Can they coexist? And now I'm here on Tuesday talking about Tommaso Ciampa and Bron Breakker and whether or not they can coexist. The coexisting thing has gotten very frustrating, but what can you do other than to laugh about it? So thank you so much to Christopher Marino for kicking us off with our first super chat of the day. But let's go ahead and jump into the show, everyone, because we got plenty to talk about. So first and foremost, let's kick things off with Carmelo Hayes. Last week, he swerved us all, and he is now the new NXT North American champion. He comes out, cuts a promo alongside his buddy Trick Williams. I gotta say, I've been a fan of Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams since like the very start, and I've been digging them up until this point. I'm still a fan of theirs. I've been liking their promo work. Carmelo Hayes cuts a particularly good promo here tonight. At least I think so. He's basically just saying, he was waiting for this moment. He talks about doing the swerve on everybody during Swerve's match, etc. And now the fact that he's NXT North American champion, and all of that good stuff. But that's not even the meat of what I want to get into with this. The meat of what I want to get into with this has to do with Johnny Gargano. So Johnny Gargano essentially interrupts Carmelo Hayes. And from the looks of it, Johnny Gargano is back once again in the NXT North American title picture, guys. This is like the 1 zillionth bazillionth time we've seen Johnny Gargano in the NXT North American title picture. He is like the guy that can do something with that belt all the damn time. He's always the guy that's involved in the storylines with the NXT North American title. I mean, constantly. But that's not even the thing that I want to get at, guys. One of the topics that we were talking about last week, which we really got into, and I want to touch back on that this week, was last week I was talking about a lot of the guys that no longer fit into that NXT 2.0 brand. As we all know, they're sort of, restarting everything from scratch. We're seeing lots of new champions being crowned, etc. We're seeing the new faces, new characters, new styles, new branding, new color. I mean, new everything. And we were talking about the people that necessarily can't coexist on this new brand. And one of those people that we touched on briefly was Johnny Gargano. Now, out of all the names that I sort of mentioned last week, Tommaso Ciampa being one of those people, Johnny Gargano is somebody because he could bring out the comedic side in him. I think that if anything, he can fit into the NXT 2.0 brand, but at the exact same time, it's almost like he's too good to be part of NXT 2.0. I think at this point, I don't think many of us are expecting him to pop up on Raw or SmackDown, because if he was going to pop in on Raw or SmackDown, he would have been there already. And to be frank, he's just too good to be on NXT 2.0. He is levels above NXT 2.0 right now. And with that being said, I put out a tweet when I was watching this match when I saw this promo. The second I saw Johnny Gargano come out and interrupt Carmelo Hayes, and realizing that this was the direction that they were heading into with this, we've known for a very long time that Johnny Gargano has just about seen and done it all there is to do in NXT. And it was not more clear than tonight. Tonight, when he started getting into this program with Carmelo Hayes, it became very, very clear to me, more so than ever, that Johnny Gargano needs to do something different. He needs to break out of this like NXT 2.0 bubble thing. That's it. He needs to break out and go on to bigger and better things. If that's Raw, if that's SmackDown, if that's something else, I don't know. But here's the thing too. So I was trying to remember, because, all of these NXT contracts, we've been talking about the fact that they've been running out a lot earlier than people expected. And so I went and I was trying to refresh my memory as to when Johnny Gargano's contract is up. And Fightful Select did report that his contract is reportedly up this December. So I think they wrote, I think Sean put like early December. Okay. Maybe December 3rd, something like that. And I just started thinking to myself, like, this feels to me like this is and this is just me guessing, all right, guys? Like, I don't know anything. I don't have any information, but based on what we are seeing from this opening segment and based on what we've been seeing with Johnny Gargano and all of the other things that I just mentioned earlier, I would not be surprised if this is one of the last stories that we see Johnny Gargano in on NXT, a program with Carmelo Hayes to essentially get him over, do his job before he leaves the territory essentially and moves on to something else. I would be very, very surprised if come 2022, we are still seeing Johnny Gargano on NXT, because it's just at this point, he needs to go on and do something else, because it's very clear. Like I said, it's very clear he's sort of above the brand now. Thoughts on this, guys? I know I gave you a lot to sort of start off with, but that's kind of like the first thing that I wanted to get into, since it was the first thing we saw on this show. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Go ahead and send in your thoughts on this here. Let's get some thoughts because we got plenty of comments here. This one here is from Drew Scott, who says, I'd really love to see Gargano on Raw or SmackDown, but the smart thing for him to do is take his talents elsewhere. Vince will turn him into a joke on the main roster, which to me really sucks because Johnny Gargano is somebody that, and him along with a lot of other people that can do killer stuff on the main roster. We already know that. That's nothing new. But then again, it's like, given how much he's accomplished on NXT and the fact that he's never necessarily been on the main roster, that is very telling of the fact that if he didn't get there already, who knows if he ever will, sort of deal. All right, let's see what else we got here. We got so many different stuff here. This one is from Edward Gonzalez, who says, Johnny needs to move on or he's going to be Bearcat's new mouthpiece. Oh, dear Lord. And let's go through a couple more comments. This one is from Christopher, who says, I totally agree. I think this is his last thing on NXT, and putting Carmelo over is a great way to do it. You got to definitely put over, the young talent. We've seen this happen a zillion times. It's a go-to thing. And I think that's what we're definitely going to be seeing here. This is a comment from the Cooge97, who says, Gargantuan is one of those words in the dictionary that should be used more contemporary society, but it is not. Whenever the opportunity presents itself, it's a word that should be used. I appreciate that there. And let's go through a couple more. Comments here. This one is from Jeremy Jimenez, who says that he can see Johnny transitioning into a full-time trainer. And this one is from Devin, who says, not going to lie, I don't think I want to ever see someone be a 4-time holder of the same NXT title. See, I wouldn't mind that. Honestly, I would not mind that. Like, I don't mind seeing someone be a champion multiple times. That's not the issue at hand. The issue at hand, in my opinion, is the fact that it's just not the same thing anymore. It's not the same type of matches. It's not the same type of work rate that we're used to seeing Johnny Gargano do on the NXT brand. It's not the same thing. Like, yeah, you have a lot of, pretty talented people on there, but they're not yet at that level of like what we're expecting to see from the NXT brand, especially what it was when it was in their black and gold, era and all of that here. And this is another comment from Justin Martin, who says, I'm usually into anything Johnny does, but it's hard to get excited for this since he's already had the NXT North American title like 3 times. Carmelo did have a really good promo that as well. Now, the other thing that I do want to mention here is that we need to talk about that NXT North American title because sadly, it's been reduced a whole lot. It used to be about that actually meant something. And now, let me pull up. I actually want to pull up the list of champions. 1 second, guys. So the last 2 champions that we've essentially had, let me pull up the whole list, but I want to talk about something here. All right. So in terms of the last 2 champions that we had and why the belt feels like it's been reduced to so much, it's because we were just talking about the fact that Isaiah Swerve Scott never actually got to defend. He never got to defend the actual title. Prior to that, Bronson Reed, I don't even recall him defending the title either. I think he had like maybe 1 title defense that I can even remember. And then prior to that, we had Johnny Gargano as champion. Then prior to that, we had Leon Ruff as champion, which even though I was personally one of those few people that was a legit fan of Leon Ruff. I liked what they did with him. I know a lot of people didn't like it because they saw it as a joke, and I totally get that. But I was one of those rare people that I liked what they were doing with Leon Ruff. But let's be serious. People weren't taking the bout necessarily seriously when he held it. And then prior to that, you had Johnny Gargano holding it. And then prior to that, we had Damian Priest, which he was perfectly fine, but it was a short-lived run. They should not have taken the bout off of him, until he actually went off to the main roster. And then prior to that, it was vacated. Prior to that, we had Keith Lee and Roderick Strong, Velveteen Dream. Okay, fine. But it kind of went off the rails after that. And it hasn't really been the same since. It's been going back and forth and nobody has really done anything with it. So now it's like, finally, we're getting that with Carmelo Hayes. Nobody kind of wants to see it go back and forth again. I think that I don't care who the champion is right now. I just want to see something be done with that belt. We got a super chat from Nick Grasso. Thank you so much to Nick, who says, next week, I think Raquel will retain. Then after that match, the mystery graveyard person will attack her and then take her hood off to be revealed as Dakota Kai. I hope JC Jane is okay. We'll talk about JC once we get to the women's match. But in terms of Raquel and Mandy Rose, I still think Mandy Rose is going to win, guys. Like, I feel fairly positive that she's going to win, okay? Again, I could be wrong. I don't have all the answers. I don't have any answers, but I do think there's a good chance that Mandy Rose is going to win. But thank you so much, as always, Nick Grasso, for sending in this super chat. I really appreciate it here. And this is another super chat from Jeremy Jimenez. Thank you guys so much. BTW, for those of you who do not know, I do get to keep all the money that I make from super chats, so thank you so much for sending them in. Jeremy Jimenez says, Johnny and Ciampa ushered in the work rate era of NXT. NXT 2.0 feels like the pre-DIY NXT. Yeah, this is exactly what we're talking about. Like, there was a certain, it's very different now. And it's very obvious who no longer fits into this new version of NXT 2.0. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you either better fit in and you better fit into this brand somehow, or get moved up to the roster, or else like the future is not necessarily looking that bright for you. That's the way that I see it. It's like you either fit in or you don't. That's the way I see it, to be honest. Thank you so much to Jeremy Jimenez for sending in this super chat. I really appreciate it. And this is a comment from Joshy Dum Dum, who says, with the current change of direction, yes, high possibility Mandy Rose will be winning it now. This is what I've been saying. With all the changes that we've been seeing, I feel like they're starting, everything with I feel like they're going to start everything with new champions. We're already seeing with Carmelo Hayes. Fine. That bout needed it. In terms of the tag team championship, we'll talk about that once we actually get to that match, because I do have a theory / prediction of what I think is going to go down with the NXT tag team titles. In terms of the women's match, I already told you, I think Mandy Rose is going to take that. And in terms of the NXT championship, either they're going to, eventually that bout's going to be Braun Breaker. It's going to be his. I don't know if they're going to pull the plug right away at Halloween Havoc and just make the change, or if they're going to keep the story going a little longer. That I do not know, but eventually I do think we're going to see Braun Breaker as champion. It's just, I don't know how fast they're actually going to do it here. And here we go. This is another comment from Edward, who says, we were all spoiled with the work rate NXT. Don't know what you got till it's gone. This is true. And here we go, guys. Let's move into our next topic, because again, there's so much to talk about here today on NXT show. And so let's get into Odyssey Jones versus Andre Chase. There really isn't that much to talk about here, other than this is a rematch. We've already seen this match before. This was a match from the NXT Breakout tournament. And the crowd is honestly really behind Odyssey Jones. They've been behind Odyssey Jones. I really did like seeing Odyssey Jones essentially do that pounce on Andre Chase. But when he's in the storyline with Andre Chase, it's not that interesting. So you kind of want to see him kind of get it over and done with. This is, for me, something that I'm like, all right, cool. We saw it. We're seeing it again. I love the finish, the standing frog splash from Odyssey Jones to Andre Chase. That was great. Odyssey Jones wins this match. Now let's move on to another story, because Andre Chase is funny, but not Cameron Grimes funny. If that makes any sense there. Alrighty, guys. We're going to move on. And before I do move on to the next topic, I do want to remind you all, if you are here, do not forget to subscribe to F4W Online on YouTube. If you're listening to the audio version of this show, make some time to head on over to the YouTube channel and click that subscribe button. We have officially surpassed 80,000 subscribers, and we are less than 20,000 subscribers away from 100K, and we can finally get that plaque. All right, moving on. Here we go. Creed Brothers versus Imperium. So Creed Brothers versus Imperium had what I don't even know what I like to call this. I don't have a name for this, but they had a fantastic match, all right? So first and foremost, the Creed Brothers are literally the only reason I care about the diamond mine because I find the diamond mine incredibly boring. I'm sorry. I'm not necessarily all that sold on the diamond mine. You guys already know that. But the Creed brothers are legitimately so entertaining. I love the Creed brothers. Like, they're stiff as hell. Like, I would not want to be in the ring with them because they're super stiff. But when you're just watching them, it's super entertaining to watch them. Like, it's super, super awesome. I think that they bring a lot to the table. And here's a side story. So my fiance is a wrestling fan, right? But he doesn't necessarily really watch like NXT or Raw with me or anything like that. Like, he'll sit through like portions of the show. He'll come in and out. He's more of a sports guy. Okay. So if there's a sporting game, that's what he's going to be watching. However, when it comes to NXT, the second he hears that the Creed brothers are going to wrestle, that is the time that he'll pull up a chair and come sit down and actually want to see them wrestle. And it's one of those things where it's like, all right, that's interesting to know, at least for me, because it's like, it's obviously working. What the Creed brothers are doing are obviously working if you want to go in there and you want to see them essentially kick some ass. So let's get into this match a little bit, and then I'm going to get into my actual theory of what I think is going to go down with the NXT tag team titles. So we have Marcel and Brutus Creed essentially kick off this match. Both teams throughout the entire match are really laying it into each other. They're doing hard-hitting stuff, both of the teams, not just Creed brothers, but Imperium is bringing it too, okay? We see a awesome gut wrench suplex from Julius to Marcel. That's a really hard thing to do, so I really like that moment during this match. However, so they're going back and forth and they're killing each other, okay? We're getting aggression from both sides. I did not like the finish. This was a Raw match in terms of you get some really, really good stuff and then you give me a terrible finish. This is exactly what we were just talking about with Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair from last night's Raw main event. We have an awesome match here with Creed brothers and Imperium. They're killing it. And then instead of actually just giving us somebody to win, I don't care, Creed brothers, I don't care, Imperium, somebody win this damn match. But instead, we get a distraction from Ajiro and Kushida, and their distraction essentially allows Imperium to pin Julius Creed via a roll-up, and that is essentially how he gets that win. So it's a distraction that leads to this win here. And I mean, we've already all covered the distraction conversations. I'm not even going to get into that right now. And then after this, we do see, after this, we see MSK coming out and essentially attacking Imperium from behind. Now, in terms of what I personally would like to see happen with the tag team titles, I would really, I want to see more of Creed brothers versus Imperium. I want to see more of this, okay? This was good. This was good stuff, and I want to see it again. I want to see MSK drop the titles to Imperium. I think that would be dope. Have Imperium have them for a while. Do a back and forth story with Creed brothers in Imperium because I'm digging it, and I want to see more matches. And eventually, then have the titles go to the Creed brothers. That for me would be interesting, and it would give us a good chunk of time. And that I think they would do an excellent. I think they would do some excellent stuff, like MSK Imperium. They have excellent chemistry. Imperium and Creed brothers, this was good. So now I know that they also have some good chemistry, and that's what I personally would like to see. So guys, in the chat, send in your thoughts. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about the Creed brothers? What do you think of my idea for the tag team titles? Go ahead and let me know here. And let's go through a couple more. This one is from Eric Desire, who says, "No, Denise, we need to hot shot." Oh, man. All right, this is from Edward, who says, "Imperium haven't had a carb since Easter. They look good. They look great." Matt Hensley says, "There was one point where I think one of the Creed brothers almost dropped one of them on their head. Other than that, great match, but I was into it. But I looked away for a second and it was over." Now, it lasted a little longer than that. It gave you enough to enjoy this match. But yeah, they are stiff. They're not necessarily like perfect in the ring, sort of say, but it's fine. It's not fine, but it is a little they are entertaining to watch is what I'm trying to get at here. And everybody's putting over Imperium and the fact that they're looking great in the ring in terms of like physically speaking. And I have to agree with that as well. All right. And we got a super chat from Brandon Charles Powell. Thank you so much to Brandon, who says, Creed Brothers defeated by distraction and roll up. I'm disgusted. Also, the fans are so not behind MSK. They should have dropped the bouts. Unfortunately, the fans haven't been behind MSK for a while. And this is more so the audience at the Capitol Wrestling Center, okay? Because it was a really weird situation with MSK. Like, they came in, they were these hot new rookies, and in WWE they were hot new rookies, and they were going in there, they were doing all of these cool spots, having great matches, and the fans were behind them for a bit, and everybody was liking them, and they were baby faces and all of that good stuff. And to this point, to this day they still are baby faces. But then there was a moment where we saw a shift, and it happened out of nowhere. I remember tuning into NXT, and I forgot what episode, I forgot what match, but I remember, might have been the debut show, might have been, but I remember going into the show, and during their match, the fans were booing them and like not giving a damn. And I was like, what happened? What did I miss? Like, what went wrong here? Like, when did all of a sudden when did they lose their like fan favorite-esque vibe on the show? And then since then, it's kind of just gone down for them, which is interesting because MSK is literally the perfect team in terms of to be champions, given the new direction that they're going with NXT 2.0. I can't think of a team that fits in more than MSK, young and hip and cool, and they go out here and they do all of these cool spots and, all of that, and they're two young kids. Like, I don't like, that's the thing. Like, it's interesting. Now, I don't know how the TV audience feels because obviously we only see the Capitol Wrestling Center fans, but the TV audience, from what I've seen on social media, either don't like them or they just seem confused by it. I don't know. Thank you so much to Brandon for sending in this super chat here. And let's go through a couple more comments. This one is from Dan, who says, MSK are the most irrelevant tag team champs in NXT history, and Blake and Murphy was once a thing. Justin Martin says, I'd be happy with anyone beating MSK at this point. Honestly, Imperium is a better overall team than the Creed Brothers right now. And Mario Morales points out that the grizzled young veterans have been overlooked long enough. HHH Hot Pie says, MSK are cringy baby faces, but they do have that indie NXT style people like. All right, so I was here just 10 seconds ago talking about how I didn't know how the people felt on social media. Well, you guys are giving me the answers right now. This is a comment from Frogger2270 who says, I like MSK. They need to keep them for a while longer. Let's build Creed Brothers for a while. WWE has done way too much shoving people into their title contention and launching them too early because of ton of backlash. And I like MSK, guys. I just interviewed MSK and they were pretty fun and we had a good time. And, they seem like nice guys. And, I like their matches, and they've been having great matches actually on NXT. There hasn't been a match that I did not like of MSK. It's just when the crowd is not into their babyface champions, it kind of starts to influence the viewers. Like, I like MSK and I'm going in here and I'm watching the show. And when there's no reaction to your babyface tag team champions, it starts to get to my own head where I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't like them either. And so if I'm thinking this, think of how many other people are probably thinking this. It does hurt them when the crowd is not reacting to them. They react when they do cool spots. That's the funny part. Whenever you see the MSK do cool spots, the crowd does react, but everything else just falls flat. Devin says, it feels like they set MSK up to be booed tonight. Imperium worked face against a heel team, and they were attacked from behind from MSK. This is a comment from Dan Daniels III, who says, slowly getting behind that heel MSK. At this point, they got to do it, guys, or else they're just going to go out there and get no reaction. Zeno Hour says, I think MSK is popular everywhere but the PC. We got a super chat from Sheldon Jackson. Thank you so much to Sheldon, who says, let's be honest, the tag titles haven't mattered since Fish and O'Reilly versus the Bruiserweights takeover shows for that title. I wouldn't say that the tag team titles haven't mattered. Maybe some people can probably argue this. I don't feel that way about the titles, to be honest. Like I said, I think MSK has been having fantastic matches as tag team champions, and I don't want to take that away from them because they have been doing good work. It's just that they're not getting over. That's the problem. In-ring wise, they're perfectly fine, but outside, it's just not happening here. All right, and let's go through a couple more, and I think I got pretty much everything from here in terms of MSK and Creed Brothers and all of that. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to our favorite topic of the day, everybody. It's time. Actually, let's get one more comment, and then I'm gonna move on to this. This one's from Frogger, who says, I honestly think the crowd is pissed at the shift. I know I loved NXT Black and Gold and was quite irritated when the NXT 2.0 shift came. Matches aren't being long enough to showcase their talent. I like some of the new people, but Braun Breaker having championship opportunity like a month after debut is ridiculous in my opinion, says Frogger 2270. I can't completely disagree with everything that you said, but in terms of like Braun Breaker getting the title shot, I don't hate it because we all know that's the direction that they're heading in. Now it's just a matter of whether or not they're actually going to pull the plug and make him champion. All right, guys, now it's time. Let's get into this. Our favorite topic of the week when it comes to NXT. Let's talk about Joe Gacy. All right, I don't know where to begin. When Joe Gacy was first introduced to NXT, I was very confused by him. I didn't get the character. Then the following week, I was irritated and annoyed. The third week, I just thought this is so stupid. The fourth week, I started laughing about it. The fifth, am I adding weeks? I don't even know how many weeks it's been, but these are my emotions going into it. I don't even know how many weeks it's been, but then I'm just trying to describe these emotions that I went through with the Joe Gacy character. I went from WTF, what is this, to, okay, this is horrible, to, okay, now I'm just laughing about it, to now I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of silliness they do with Joe Gacy, to WTF again, and now I'm back sort of to not square one where I'm maybe I am back to square one where I'm like, what the hell are they doing now with Joe Gacy? It's so whatever. So for those of you guys that were here last week, we were talking about this thing with him and Harland. So Harland and him and Joe Gacy shared an exchange last week where Joe Gacy just rubs his hand on his face and kind of calms him down, right? Because Garland was about to choke the living hell out of Joe Gacy. But with Joe Gacy's soft touch, I need to find out what hand lotion he uses because clearly it worked and it calmed him down. So anyways, we get this like video promo, where Joe Gacy is talking about not being triggered by people that offend us and that he's going to speak for the people. And, he's talking about being stronger with a coalition versus just one person. And he's going on and off about this nonsense. And then he just looks at the screen and he starts doing this thing where he's touching people through the camera. And I'm thinking, okay, so he's a televangelist. He's like those creepy people that claim that they can cure us. What is this? So then all of a sudden we get this video reflection of Harland, and Harland's looking all pissed off. He's looking like he's got serious issues. And he's sort of calm. He's calm with Joe Gacy. So it seems that they're doing this this televangelist thing, and maybe Harland is the guy that took a wrong turn and is now looking to be healed, and maybe Joe Gacy is helping him out with that. I don't know, because last week I thought they were going to be lovers, and now he's healing him, so they're not lovers. I don't know anymore. Honestly, guys, with Joe Gacy and Harland and all of this, it is so it's such an outrage. I don't know if outrageous is the right word. I don't know. It's so out of the blue that I'm just whatever. I'll take it for what it is. It kind of throws me off every week. Whatever. What do you guys think of this? Are you liking this? Are you as confused as I am? Are you a fan of this? Send in your thoughts, because at this point, I really just don't know. Every single week, I come up with a new theory, and then the following week, my previous theory has been proven wrong. So I clearly don't understand anything here. This is from Brandon, who says that it's more of a cult leader kind of gimmick. He doesn't know. You see, he's like a cult leader. That you can say televangelists are essentially cult leaders as well. It's kind of like the same thing, right? Like you're brainwashing people and telling them you can save their lives, right? I'm just going to come in here and be like, guys, I can heal you. I can heal you. Touch my hand. I don't know. Oh, God, I don't know. All right, let's go through some more comments here. This one is from Patrick Etheridge, who says, it looked like Joe Gacy was talking to Harland in prison, like where someone goes to visit an inmate with the phones. You know what I mean? Yeah, but I saw that. But Harland isn't in prison. He was just on NXT the last 2 weeks. I mean, unless he went to prison because I don't know. I can't even answer that question. I'm not even going to try. I'm thinking way too hard about this. This is my problem. I'm overthinking all of this. And, yeah. Anton HHH says, Joe Gacy is cringy, but I'm here for cringy NXT. Well, I'm not going to act like I don't want to see a disaster with Joe Gacy. I agree. All right. We're moving on from this. This is Ron. Ron thinks that Joe Gacy is a CM Punk parody. It could be. Maybe they could be doing something similar to that. And Nick Blues points out that it doesn't take too long to get locked up, Denise. Well, that's true. A whole week has passed since the last time we saw him in person on NXT. So I don't know. Maybe he did something during that time. Maybe he just hung out with the wrong people. Maybe he made friends with Tony D'Angelo. Maybe he helped Tony D'Angelo kidnap the producer. Okay, none of that makes sense. All right. Whatever. Moving on. Thank you, Jeremy Jimenez. That's time to move on. All right. Let's get into this one really quickly. There's not that much to say. We got Cora Jade versus Elektra Lopez here. Fast match. We see. Dang. All right, guys. 1 second. Can someone remind me who the hell won this match? I don't remember. Somebody won with an inside cradle. Was it Elektra or was it Cora Jade? Damn it, I forgot. All right, somebody let me know in the comments, everybody, because I clearly forgot who won this match because I didn't write it down. But the reason what I actually wanted to talk about in terms of this actual match is that the way that the men's tag team match ended with Creed Brothers and Imperium, we kind of had that fast roll up. And in terms of that roll up, it looked like a 2 count, but it ended up being a 3 count. Like it was kind of a weird finish, right? We saw the exact same thing with Cora Jade and Elektra Lopez. Thank you, everybody. The chat has my back. Cora Jade won this match with an inside cradle. But here was the thing. This is why I completely forgot, because when she went for it, I saw a 2 count. And we saw Elektra sort of like get out of it. And for like a split second, it was weird. Like it wasn't a 3 count. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, it's a 3 count. The bell rings, match is over. And I'm thinking, what? This had a very similar, weird ending, similar to that tag team match. So it was one of those things that kind of really just, oh man, it threw me off, guys. It really, really threw me off. I don't know what to say, guys. I'm not necessarily Elektra Lopez. She's interesting. I like what she's doing with Legado del Fantasma. I like all that. Cora Jade. I have to root for Cora Jade, guy. I have to root for her because she reminds me of Avril Lavigne, and I love Avril Lavigne, so I'm going to root for Cora Jade. But that's pretty much it. But let's see what else we got here. This one's from Mac, who says, the ref counted like 1, then his hand didn't hit for the 2, but it hit on the 3. That's what I saw. Yep, it was weird. Whatever you saw, I'll take your word for it because it was kind of was what it was. And Eric Desire says that it was a botch-tastic. Eric blames, the referee botched that match. Yeah, it was weird, guys. It was really weird. I need to go back and rewatch that. But let's get into this next match because a lot went down here. A lot went down in this match, guys. And this was not, it was not great. It was not great. Damn. All right. I thought this was going to be a triple threat tag team match. I went into this thinking we were going to see a triple threat tag team match, and whoever won the match was to spin the wheel. Well, I was right on the spin the wheel part, but it was a triple threat match between Io Shirai, Persia, and Jacy Jayne. But the graphic with all the women in it, I assumed it was a triple threat tag team match, and I thought, all right, we're just going to see the match twice. I'm not surprised by that. Why would I be surprised by that? We see a bunch of rematches. So I went into this thinking it was going to be a triple threat tag team match, and then it just ended up being a triple threat. But anyways, so that was my mistake, and I even promoted it that way. I posted it on Twitter and everything, so I looked a fool. Anyways, but so before we get to the big thing that everybody wants to talk about, let's talk a little bit about Persia. So Persia, unfortunately, so last week she had a tag team match, and she was teaming with Indy Hartwell and all of that, and she looked perfectly fine. Like, there wasn't anything that she went out there and did that I thought was like terrible. This was for the tag team match that she did with Indy. But now I'm starting to think, well, it was because it was a tag team match and she didn't have to do very much. And so she looked perfectly fine. Unfortunately, during this match, she looked very, very green. And they're also having her work similar to the way that Raquel Gonzalez was working when Raquel Gonzalez first got started. They're kind of doing the exact same thing with Persia. And it was very clear during this match. The thing we need to talk about here is Jacy Jayne, because there was a very, very unfortunate moment in which Jacy got hurt. So Jacy went for a dive to the outside of the ring, obviously. And there was sort of a moment of hesitation during this dive. And when she went for it, she like kind of like her feet like didn't really like, they touched the ropes, and then at the same time, she didn't necessarily she didn't go the full way through. She sort of fell short during this dive because, again, she kind of had that moment of hesitation. And the second you have that moment of hesitation, it takes away from, the momentum that you're building when you do this dive to the outside. And so, unfortunately, she essentially falls face first down to the ground, and it looked really, really ugly. There was absolutely nothing that Persia could have done. She was, in the right spot, waiting for her, waiting to catch her. But unfortunately, Jacy just went down way before she even got anywhere near Persia. And so it looked brutal. Immediately after this, you see Io Shirai and Persia essentially, kind of do their own thing as they get the camera away from Jacy Jayne, and then they go to commercial, but they do a picture-in-picture. And at this point, I'm thinking, like, why do a picture-in-picture, man? Like, just go to commercial. But during the picture-in-picture, we see Io Shirai put Persia in a camel clutch, and during this, you also see the referee, checking on Jacy. Like, you can kind of see a little bit. You can kind of see glimpses of him checking up on her and all of that. She's kind of like, she's completely out there. And then afterwards, you see the referee sort of talking to Io Shirai. It's very clear he's talking to her and I guess telling her whatever. And then I thought that once we came back from the commercial break, I thought they were going to go straight to the finish, but they didn't. They ended up going a lot longer than I expected them to, given the fact that, this happened to Jacy. And so they didn't go directly to the finish. Instead, Io Shirai literally carried this match, did everything possible to fill the time that this match needed to fill on the show. She did her job. She was an absolute pro during this. And it makes me wonder if you didn't have somebody as experienced as Io Shirai in this match, they probably would not have been able to still fill the allotted time that they were supposed to fill on this show, because I'm assuming they would have just, ended this match somehow or gone straight to the finish, So seriously, good for Io Shirai on this, but she literally did everything she could to put a little decent match together with herself and Persia. Unfortunately, Persia is very, very green, and kind of didn't really know what to do out there. She looked sort of lost. But we do see Io get her in a crossface. Then we see a suplex on Persia. And then Io Shirai does a moonsault. And prior to all of this, excuse me, I forgot to mention that Io Shirai hit the 619, and after this she slipped on the top rope. She was going for a double drop kick, and she was on the top rope, and Io Shirai slipped. I don't think I've ever seen Io Shirai slip. So she slips, and so that was kind of like, oh shoot, like damn, just end this match now, because now things are kind of, they're just too messy. End the match now. But they keep going. Then she gets the crossface. Then she hits Persia with the suplex. And then she hits a beautiful moonsault the way that she always does. And then she gets the win for her team. So Io and Zoe get to spin the wheel. They spin the wheel, and we find out that the three-way tag team match is going to be a Scareway to Hell ladder match. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I wonder, like, I don't know necessarily how well this match is going to be, given the fact that if you think of all the women in the card, I mean, aside from like Io Shirai, who obviously, you know, is going to be doing all of the spots in this match, she's really going to be the one really actually utilizing those ladders and, you know, really doing something in the match. So I am going to be curious to see how this match is going to turn out. Thoughts on this, guys? Go ahead and send in your comments here. This is a comment from Brandon, who says that's why good workers are needed in NXT 2.0 to help keep things together. Then again, I don't want those good workers stuck in NXT 2.0. I'm torn. Frogger says, I totally agree with you, Denise. This is the risk that happens when the company focuses so much on green wrestlers. So lucky having a veteran there. And let's go through some more comments here. Everybody's pointing out the exact same thing, that this is exactly why you need people that can work on NXT, because again, when stuff goes wrong, you're going to need someone to essentially do what we saw Io Shirai do. So everybody just also hopes that JC is okay. And yes, I completely agree with everybody. I hope that she is okay, because yeah, I hope she's okay. All right, guys. And let's move on. After this, we do get a segment with Kushida and Ikemen Jiro. It was what it was, guys. They're out there talking to each other and talking about style strong, and Kushida wants a cool kick-ass blazer just like Ikemen Jiro's, but instead he tells him like no. He takes out his jacket, and then they end up doing like, it looks like they're doing something similar to what Alex Shelley and Kushida were doing with the time splitter gimmick, and it looks like they're probably doing something similar to that, but with Ikemen Jiro and Kushida. So I'm glad that they found something for Kushida to do, because I was worried that he was going to be one of those people that was going to get lost in the shuffle with NXT 2.0. And Kushida has done such good work on NXT, and he's not somebody that I would want to see essentially not on the roster. And let's move on. After this, we got Tony D'Angelo in a quick squash match. Nothing much to say here. He wins with a swinging fisherman suplex, and I'm actually kind of glad that they gave him this like squash match to get a quick victory for himself. I liked it because he's somebody that's actually been getting over with the NXT crowd, so it's kind of like a nice reward. Give him the squash matches, etc. After this, Samantha basically asked him about the producer that he essentially had in his trunk, and Tony D'Angelo is just kind of like, you know, sort of like flirting with her and getting out of actually answering her question, and basically asking her like, why does she want to know? Like, is she a detective? And is she a snitch or something like that? And he just tells her like, forget about it. And that's kind of it, guys. So good for Tony D'Angelo. He's getting himself over. Good for him, guys. He's one of the new characters that's legitimately getting over. So good for him. All right. Before we move on, everybody, I just want to remind you guys once again that this Wednesday night, I will not be on here because AEW will not be on Wednesday night this weekend. Instead, AEW Dynamite will be airing on Saturday. Now, this does mess up my schedule because I have multiple bookings this week, so it's going to be a little bit hectic. So instead of doing my post shows immediately after the show ends, I will be here live the following day at noon Pacific Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm going to be bringing on special guests to sort of make up for the fact that I wasn't here to do the shows immediately after. So on Saturday morning, to recap Rampage and Smackdown, I'm going to have Post Wrestling's John Pollock. He's going to be on here doing the show with me, and I'm super excited about that. And then on Sunday, I'm going to be reviewing the Saturday night edition of Dynamite, but on Sunday with Robbie Fox, and that's going to be really fun too. So make sure you guys join for that. And it was just kind of like a way to kind of make up for the fact that I had to do my shows the following day, because I will be ring announcing at GCW War Ready in Los Angeles, and I will also be doing some backstage interviews over at PCW Ultra. So it's going to be kind of a hectic week. But thank you guys so much for working with me and working with the schedule that I've got. All right, guys, and we get a quick vignette. Duke's Poker Room, the house always wins with Duke Hudson. I'm not a fan, so I'm out of this one. Not much to say. Solo Sikoa. I hope I said that last name right. He's debuting next week. He is the third Uso, so that's officially happening next week. Then we get a quick match between, well, not a somewhat quick match between Briggs and Jensen versus Legado del Fantasma. Legado del Fantasma essentially attacks them right before this match to get their match going. And really here the story is that the odds are sort of stacked against Briggs and Jensen. They were unfairly attacked before the match. And then when the referee was not looking, Santos Escobar was getting, his shots in. And so this definitely allowed Legado del Fantasma to get an easy victory during this match. And I, for one, am here for it. I love this because they're heels and they won in a heel way. I was here for this. I like this. However, part of me is like kind of depressed though when I think about this, because when I think about the fact that I feel like no matter what Legado del Fantasma does, they're always going to be kept at a certain level. And that's kind of what really bums me out, guys. Like, it really bums me out that the Latino talent just doesn't they never get them to another level. They're always on the same spot. And so I was kind of feeling like a little bummed out when I was watching this match, because I started to think about it too much. And then I started to think about it, and then I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so it was one of those things where I was kind of like, man, I really do hope that they give, I really do hope that we get to see more of Legado del Fantasma. They've been doing such a good job on NXT, and I hope that they do get to reap a couple of those rewards. And this is a comment from Rory, too, who says Legado del Fantasma need a tag team title push. Dude, I thought that Santos Escobar should have eventually become NXT North American champion. They should have just had him do it. They should have just had him actually become champion. Like, he did such a good job as cruiserweight champion and really brought out a lot to that belt. And so I thought, okay, well, it's only a natural progression until he gets to that NXT North American title picture. And it's like, if you were going to bounce back and forth with these, with the belt, and you weren't even going to have Isaiah Swerve Scott do any matches, you might as well have given to the belt to somebody that was actually going to do, if they were actually going to have Santos Escobar do anything with the belt either, because they could have given up to him and then not given him any title challenges either. So, but it's one of those things where I'm like, damn, like, I really do think that there was a time that they should have had him win the belt, and now it feels like that time has passed. All right, here we go. And let's move on. This is a comment from Green Jerk, who says Legado is underrated. They can hang with the main roster tag teams. They can. They really can, and they would add so much to that tag team division if they were on the main roster. This is a comment from Frogger, who says, I agree with you, Legado del Fantasma are so good, but they keep getting pressed down. You see Hit Row get called up, but Legado is so good, and I feel they work great together and work great with a lot of other teams. Yeah, and they were called up because, Hit Row is legitimately, they're entertaining as hell. But I do think Legado del Fantasma is better in the ring in terms of, as a whole, all three guys. Isaiah Swerve Scott's fantastic in the ring, but I'm talking about as a whole, Legado del Fantasma work rate rise is better in ring. So there you go. All right, here we go. LA Knight versus Grayson Waller. Winner will become the Halloween Havoc host, and I don't think there was one person that went into this match thinking, oh, LA Knight's not going to win. It's going to be Grayson Waller. We all knew LA Knight was going to win. Everybody knew it. LA Knight wins this match. This is not shocking whatsoever. What I do want to talk about is Grayson Waller here, because Grayson Waller is one of those guys that, in terms of all of the guys that we've been seeing, all of the new talents and faces that we've been seeing on NXT, I legitimately think Grayson Waller has been one of the most impressive in-ring wise. He brings a lot of energy and he's athletic. However, he's been taking the L left and right. He's been being booked like a jobber. And given the fact that he's actually been one of the most impressive guys in the ring, and he's kind of been booked like a jobber, it's one of those things where I'm like, really? Really? Because so the moment that I became a fan of Grayson Waller's was during that match that he had with Roderick Strong. I'm glad that he lost that match because he should not have been beating Roderick Strong, so that's perfectly fine. But during that match, it really was, to me, a breakout performance for Grayson Waller. However, and then given that that was for the title as well, so we should add the fact that that was for the title. Okay, so then after this, he ends up losing to LA Knight tonight. And then before that, he was losing to Duke Hudson. And I'm like, all right, no offense, but come on. Give the guy one win at least. So we'll see when they eventually do that. But I think Grayson Waller, they have something there with Grayson Waller. They just need to, I don't know if they see it or if they don't, but they do have, I personally think they have something there with Grayson Waller. And we got a lot of people here that believe that Grayson should have won this match as well. Yep, I agree. All right, and lastly, let's get into this main event because we need to know, ladies and gentlemen, we need to know. Can Bron Breakker and Tommaso Ciampa coexist? That is the question on all of our minds because I cannot see Bron Breakker versus Tommaso Ciampa in a match for the NXT Championship at Halloween Havoc. I cannot see the match if I don't know that they can coexist. I'm being sarcastic. All right. Bron Breakker and Tommaso Ciampa team up to face the grizzled young veterans. And this is a fine match, guys. Like, this is an okay match. It was a lot shorter than I anticipated because normally NXT doesn't end until like 7:10, 7:12 Pacific Standard Time. And this time it ended like right on the dot. I was like, what? Oh man, I was expecting this match to go a lot longer, but they didn't. Either way, during this match, we essentially see, we see that Bron Breakker does not want to tag in Tommaso Ciampa. So already off the bat, they're not coexisting. And so Tommaso Ciampa essentially forces himself in this match by tagging himself into it. And then throughout this, my favorite part was literally Tommaso Ciampa just like killing both members of Grizzled Young Veterans with all of those clotheslines. That was probably my favorite part of this match. The rest of the match, we do see, Bron Breakker do, hit a lot of, his killer power, showing a lot of power throughout this match. And then we see tension, obviously, because we got to find out if they can coexist or not between Tommaso Ciampa and Bron Breakker. And they're, doing rough tags and all of this, giving each other dirty looks and all of that. And in the end, we see Bron Breakker hit a power slam and gets the win for his team. And that was kind of about it. Like, this was not the best match on the card. I thought the best match on the card was Creed Brothers versus Grizzled Young Veterans, but it was fine nonetheless. And now we're going to move on to Halloween Havoc next week. All right, thoughts on this match, guys? This is a question from Johnny P22 who says, I wonder if Ciampa now regrets saying he wouldn't leave NXT. I don't know, man. I don't know when Tommaso Ciampa's contract's up. I don't think I've read any news on that I remember off the top of my head. But this is what bums me out because literally, so Tommaso Ciampa is literally one of my favorite current wrestlers, okay? And it's one of those things where I'm like, he's my favorite current wrestler because I remember what he can do in the ring. And we've seen so many glimpses of what he can do in the ring, but he's not necessarily having matches or he's not necessarily in storylines that are like, oh my God, like I can't believe it. This is one of the hottest things on NXT or in WWE TV. We're not necessarily getting that with Tommaso Ciampa, but I know we can if he was like, if the stars all aligned, I know he could. And he's legitimately one of my favorite wrestlers. So in my mind, in my head, I've already booked like all of these dream matches, all of these dream scenarios with Tommaso Ciampa, in different companies, in WWE, outside of WWE. Like he's one of those guys that like, if you were to tell me like, Denise, who do you want to see this guy wrestle? I'd be like, Tommaso Ciampa. Who do you want to see this guy wrestler? I'd be like, Tommaso Ciampa. So it does kind of bum me out. So I try not to think about it no more, else I'm just going to depress myself. Question from White Crow, who says, do you think Chucky will interrupt Bron next week, continuing the family legacy? He should. And they announced him too. He's going to be at Halloween Havoc. So yeah, he should definitely do that. All right. And let's see what else we got here. Same thing. Everybody's hoping to see Chucky essentially interact with Bron Breakker here. Thank you so much to Walter Johnson, who says that Denise talking about matches and good points. I appreciate it, guys. Alrighty, everyone. That is my NXT post show. As always, I want to thank you guys so much. I forgot to mention that for the next week's NXT post show, it is Halloween Havoc. So please, everybody, the show will be themed. I will be wearing my costume, and so I will be dressed for this podcast next week. It's gonna be really great. I don't think anyone's gonna guess my Halloween costume, so be excited. I'm gonna be dressing up for my NXT Halloween Havoc show, and then I'm gonna have a different costume for my Wednesday AEW Dynamite show, and then I'm gonna have a different costume for my Smackdown / Rampage post show on Friday. So I will have a brand new costume on all of my Speak Now Pro Wrestling shows. So get excited because they're going to be fun. They're going to be really, really fun. Alrighty, other than that, please do not forget to subscribe to F4W Online. Head on over to my YouTube channel as well, youtube.com/Denise Salcedo. Make sure to follow me on Twitter and or on Instagram @_Denise Salcedo. And I'll see you guys on Saturday. Bye, everyone.